Hello, good morning. Welcome to Jack the Tiler YouTube page. This is going to be one of my first videos on here, and we've got a real interesting one. We're tiling this whole niche enclosure above the cooker. These are going to be tiled in these 300 by 100 turquoise cracked glaze tiles. We're going to be using these in a brick bond pattern, half height up to about here, and then we'll be running a centre feature strip all the way through this middle piece here, all the way around, and as I say, then we're going to be carrying the rest of the pattern above and up around and over the top. So let's get cracking. I tell you what, you don't get to work with views like this all the time. All the sheeps. Lovely. Right then, okay, we're all set up. We've gone and grabbed our materials. This has all gone nice and dry now. It's got a sandpaper texture. We've highlighted some of the areas that we're going to be cutting around. I've got my centre mark. We'll be using laser level today to get that centre mark perfect. We've loosened off this plug just so that we can get nice and tight to the edges, and then obviously once everything's all grouted at the end, we'll get this all nice tight back on. You can't get a better finish than that. Protective paper sheet down, just in case a little bit of mess. Okie doke. Alright, so guys, we're going to get back to getting mixed on now. We're going to be using the Ultra Trade Slow Set today, S1, cement-based adhesive. There are no sponsorship today, just to make it very clear. I'd just like to show what products I'm using throughout these jobs. So yeah, this is what I'm going to be using. I'm just going to get this going now. So we know that it's perfect. Lift your trowel up, just sticks to it like this. Lovely. Okay, all set up. I'm just going to start by giving the wall a buttering, which means we're just going to get a double bond between the tile and the wall. And then what we're doing is we'll be spreading the backs of the tiles and fixing as so. If you have made any centre marks, try and leave a little bit of space so that you can still see them. I'll be using my laser level. If you are doing pencil lines, it can be a little bit more difficult. Just try and keep your eye on the mark. Going to be using 2mm spacers today. The long legs, these are from CTD as well. It's good to just get a handful of spacers and to keep them where you're working, so you don't need to keep trying to pick them up out of the bucket. If your hands are a little bit dirty and got adhesive on, put them in the bucket. Before you know it, all of your spacers are all stuck together and adhesive everywhere. So try and keep everything separate. It keeps a bit of a cleaner working space. Okay, we're going to get this first tile fixed up. We're going to be coming off a 2mm spacer at the bottom, as it gives us a little bit of expansion space. It gives us a bit of an expansion joint, which just means that over time, when these areas are exposed to heat and there's a little bit of movement, what we do is we'll silicone that bottom joint so that you won't be able to see it anyway. And it also just allows that tiny little bit of movement if it does need to happen. Now, it's always good to have a sponge bucket of water on hand. This job, doesn't matter how experienced you are at it, it's always going to be messy. You're always going to be having adhesive on your fingers. And not only just to stop your hands from getting sore, it's just great practice to keep a clean working environment. And we've got our laser level for our vertical line, and then we're going to be using a small, what is this? Oh, it's a 600mm, just spirit level, which we'll be using to check the horizontal level of these tiles. I did check our base before, but yeah, we were bang on as we'd like it to see. So we're going to do this plug socket cut now. So you want to be marking to the outside of that metal box underneath the plastic plug. So this is going to be our first cut. As you can see, we'll be marking here because we're measuring from this point here over to here. We do our little mark because that's the area that we want to be cutting down to. Straight over to our cutter. This is a TS40. Have a guess how much I paid for this. It wasn't expensive, just to give you an idea. Little scribe, cut. So now, this is our rough edge, which will go up to the corner piece. There we go, we're all in size. And now we want to mark to the outside of the metal box, but not over the screws. Otherwise we won't be able to get our screws back in. You can slightly oversize. I'd just say to the outside of the metal box, and then we know that the sides of our socket will be coming over the edge of the tile. Now, same again here, a bit awkward, but if we line it up with our base that we're coming off on the other tiles, we want to be marking this roughly over the outside of the metal box to get our mark. We have our horizontal line and our two vertical lines. This is the bottom of the socket. So we'll put this one in first. Using a set square, we'll draw it all the way across. Don't worry about being too neat. It'll all make sense as you do the rest of the lines. We'll do our first vertical, second vertical. Rub out your excess lines. Now I like to put little X on the bit that we don't want anymore. We'll make sure that we've got our safety goggles on. I have an angle grinder set up. It's the Makita angle grinder. You can see I've had this for years. And as a little pro tip, if you are grinding on top of a metal base, anything real solid, you don't want to be just having your ceramic or porcelain tile, or anything in fact, just resting on there, because the vibrations going straight into the solid metal surface is just going to risk damaging the tile. So I always like to come off like a cardboard base which managed to absorb any of those vibrations and stopping any further risk of doing damage to the tiles. Okay, let's get this tile cut. Okay, so here's our piece. So what we'll do is we'll use our sponge that we have handy to give this tile a nice wipe down. We'll check to make sure we're happy with the positioning, which is perfect. To make some nice consistent trowel lines, and obviously be sure to have the electrics off when doing this for these sockets to be safe. And as I'm coming off a 2mm spacer, we're popping those in there and we're happy with that. Okay, so well done guys, we've got our first cut in, round our socket. Looking good. I'm just going to continue to start fixing these tiles just through the process I've shown you. I'm going to be marking up our sides, and because we're brick bonding, I'm going to be offsetting every single row by centering the tile on the last joint. Okay, so just to show you, what I'll be doing is I'll be centering the tile. So I put my center mark, and that center mark will then be placed on this joint to create a brick bond pattern. Let's do it. Okay, we have successfully fixed our third row. We're now ready for our mosaics. I've worked out that we're going to be using rows of 6. We've got enough tiles for this. My customer wanted us to use as much of the mosaic as we could, but obviously only to the point of being able to complete the job. We've got 3 sheets. We'll be using a Stanley knife to cut through the backs of these to separate them down now. Now, if you have made it this far into the video, I'd like to think that you see some sort of value, or at least enjoying yourself a little bit. Please just drop me a like or a subscribe, or both. It's going to really help me out, especially this being the beginning of my journey on YouTube, and it'd be hugely appreciated. Let's do it. With these being glass-based mosaics, we can't just get the grinder on these. If we put the grinder on them as you're going through, unless you've got a super fresh and super steady hand, these will just splinter off and you're just going to ruin the mosaic. We're going to be using a 6mm scribe wheel on my ruby cutter to scribe across this glass, and then we'll be using some nips to break them off, and I'll show you right now. We're going to take our mosaic. I'm going to line it up on our cutter, and individually, once we've got everything in place, we're going to scribe, make sure everything's lined up nicely. Scribe our glass. We don't need to scribe this bit because that's our furthest point in. Scribe, scribe, scribe. Perfect. We're then going to use our nips off a solid base again to break across our scribe. There we go. Okay, so a good thing to do here, pop a mosaic on, draw ourselves a little line so we know where the top of the mosaic's coming to. We'll use our spirit level just to roughly mark this across. We don't want too much adhesive on the wall. We're not going to be spreading the back of the mosaic because it just gets far too messy. It just all starts getting a bit ugly. So what we're going to do is we're going to use our trowel, put ourselves a nice thin spread on the wall. Now, I have done a mark here because this is an area that I need to keep a hole for. So what we can do though, get a little scraper, put ourselves a tiny little butter, the same as we'd butter the wall, onto the back of the mosaic sheet. Doesn't have to be absolutely covered. Once again, just gives us that extra bit of bond. Okay. And then we'll be placing this on our far corner. Now, one of the things that we will have to watch out for when using mosaics, we have got adhesive coming through our joints here. Probably could have used a less thicker notch trowel, which would avoid this, but I really did just want a good bed of adhesive to get these mosaics on with. And we're now got adhesive coming through the joints. Nice to get a toothbrush, so I'm joking. I need to get a toothbrush with a little bit of water. We'll use this toothbrush just to brush out those joints. Now, this is super handy for mosaics. You can get the adhesive off the toothbrush, put it onto the back of the sponge, and we can remove all of that excess adhesive from inside the mosaic joints. Now, why do we do this? If you were to leave this adhesive to set inside your mosaics, overnight, when you come to grout tomorrow, you're going to have the biggest nightmare trying to remove all of this adhesive from the insides of your mosaics. So we're just going to continue to clean up these mosaics as we fix them. And I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so we have our mosaic center strip fixed now. Starting to come together. You can sort of start to imagine what this is going to look like when it's complete. It's going to look awesome. We have got our last two pieces of the back wall to put in. I hope you're enjoying this so far. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Obviously, say this is my first YouTube video. I do a lot of content on my Instagram and Facebook, so feel free to check that out. This is going to be a little bit different, obviously. Let me know whether you'd like to see more time lapses, faster versions, more information. We're having to pack out a little bit at the top here. This back wall wasn't totally flat, so we are having to just build out above some of these wires here, which is absolutely fine. We have to drill out some holes in these tiles, which is where the extractor hood is going to be fixed into. Oh yeah, looking good. Okay. I'm going to start on these returns now, which are the side walls. We're starting on this left-hand side first. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be working out so that the longer cut comes into the shorter piece. Obviously the shorter cut's going to come into the longer piece. Just looks a lot better this way. Okay, we're making some good progress now. We've got this last corner piece to pop in. I'll pop a spacer in there in a minute. So it is really starting to come on now. We've got this side reveal up. And we are going to do exactly the same on this side now. Okay. Oh yeah, looking awesome. We've got our back corner, our two sides up. Looking really nice. This is the bit that's really going to complete it now. I've got my trim cut down ready, which is going to be going in to the top, just like this. Nice mitered corners. And that is what we're going to be setting our first row of tiles off. In order for us to land with our last tile to still be centered off the last joint, I've used my set square, with my laser level. Now, what I've done is I've used my set square to come off the face of this, because this is going to be the first tile that gets laid, and it will be kept in line with this border here. Now, if I get my set square and I was to put it like this and then have my laser level over here, as you can see now, that is spiraling right off. It needs to be level with the set square that is being set off the face of this. So what we do is we budge this right around, still making sure that our laser is in line with all of the joints on the back wall, and also in line with the set square. And there you go, and we're on. And that's how then we know that this point right here is where our first either joint, in this case, it's actually going to be our full tile, and then what it'll do is it'll land, the joint will be landing here, and it'll be a full tile, and it will basically all flow through rather than the joint landing on the joint. You've got to trace it back and make sure that it's going to work. We're almost done here now in terms of tiling. We're just going to get that underside done. Going to get a last little mix on just to help us complete this. Look, let me know what you think. Are you enjoying this? Are you enjoying the content? Are you enjoying the elongated version of what I get up to on a daily basis? If you're a tiler, what would you have done differently? Just give me some feedback. Let me know what you all think. All right, I'm going to get this last mix on. Have a little bit of a tidy up. This is our cutting station. We are just got some lovely weather in a beautiful garden as well. It's not that often we get to work in such nice environments. And yeah, I'm really enjoying this job. So guys, I'll see you in a couple of minutes after I've got a mix on. We'll get this last bit of tiling wrapped up. So much for all joining me on this journey today. It wouldn't be right if I didn't bring this all back into normal time to fit this last piece of the jigsaw puzzle. So let's do it. Yeah. Now that just makes it all worth it, doesn't it? Oh, make sure it stays in there just nicely. Whoa! And we've done it. We're all tiled. It's ready to be grouted tomorrow. We're going to leave this to all settle now overnight. Okay, it's time for a big tidy up. Guys, I'll catch you tomorrow. Rightio, here, day 2. Just gave all the tiles a nice wipe down. Going to get some grout knocked up. Let's get it.